I still remember that day, the day they called me weak. Not because I was crying, not because I was broken, but because I refused to fight back. My name is Aisha, and for years, I believed being kind meant being strong. But life, it has a way of testing that belief. I worked at a small marketing firm in the city. Nothing fancy, just dreams, deadlines, and people pretending to care. I had joined that company fresh out of college, full of hope, full of trust, and in that place I met Sarah and Rayan. Sarah, my friend, Rayan, the man who said he saw strength in me. Funny thing is, both of them would become the reason I lost everything. At first, things were perfect. We were a team. I'd stay late, help others finish their reports, never complained. But soon, I started noticing people smiled to my face and whispered behind my back, "She's too emotional. She'll never survive corporate pressure. She's just lucky to be here." It didn't hurt at first. I thought they were just joking. Until one morning, everything changed. That day, during a big client meeting, Sarah presented a campaign, my campaign, and called it her idea. And Rayan, the man I trusted, the man who promised he believed in me, backed her up. My hands were trembling under the table. My heart raced, but my voice wouldn't come out. Everyone applauded her. And me, I just sat there, silent, invisible, weak. After the meeting, I tried to speak. I tried to tell the manager, but no one listened. Sarah was charming, Rayan was convincing, and me. I was too sensitive. That night, I went home and cried until the sun came up. Not because I lost a project, but because I realized I had lost myself. I kept asking, why do people mistake silence for weakness? But that night, something in me shifted. They called me weak. They had no idea they were creating the strongest version of me they would ever see. The days after that meeting felt endless. Every step into that office felt like walking into a storm I wasn't ready for. People looked at me differently, with pity, with mockery, with that smile that said, "We knew she wouldn't last." I started eating lunch alone. Even the ones who used to laugh with me now avoided me, afraid to be seen with the girl who lost her voice. Rayan didn't even look guilty. He walked past me every morning like we had never shared dreams, like his promises were never real. And Sarah, she wore my success like a crown. One morning, the manager congratulated her in front of everyone for her brilliant creativity. Everyone clapped. I just sat there, smiling weakly, while my heart sank a little deeper. That was the moment I realized people don't care about truth when lies come with confidence. But something inside me broke that day. And when something breaks, it can either destroy you or set you free. That night, I stood in front of the mirror again. My eyes were swollen, my voice hoarse. I whispered to myself, enough. Enough crying. Enough begging for validation. Enough letting people define my worth. I quit my job the next morning. No warning, no drama, just silence. Everyone was shocked. Even Sarah looked nervous. She didn't expect me to walk away so calmly. When I handed in my resignation, the manager said, "Aisha, are you sure about this? You're emotional right now." I smiled and said softly, "No, I'm clear, for the first time in a long time." I left that building with nothing but my dignity and a quiet promise to myself. They will remember my name one day, not for how I cried, but for how I came back. I didn't have a plan, just pain and determination. And sometimes that's all you need. The next few months were tough. Money ran low, my confidence shattered, but slowly I started rebuilding myself, brick by brick. I began freelancing, learning late into the night, studying marketing trends, branding, storytelling. All the things they said I was too emotional to handle. I turned my pain into purpose, and with every small project, I could feel myself becoming sharper, stronger, smarter. One night, as I finished a campaign for a small clothing brand, the client texted me, "You're amazing, Aisha. You should start your own agency." That message lit a spark inside me, a one that had been buried for far too long. That was the night my comeback truly began. Every morning, I woke up before sunrise. The world was quiet. Just me, my laptop, and a dream I wasn't sure would work. I had no fancy office, no team, no investors. Just an old desk, a cracked screen, and faith that maybe, just maybe, I could rebuild myself from nothing. I spent hours studying how big brands told stories, how emotions sold more than logic. The same emotions they mocked me for were now becoming my greatest strength. One day, I decided to take the leap. I created a name, a logo, and a website all from scratch. Rise Studio, that's what I called it. Because that's what I was doing. Rising, the first few weeks, brutal. Emails ignored, calls unanswered. People said, "You're brave to try this alone." But their eyes said, "You'll fail." Still, I pushed through. I learned to market myself online, posted my work, shared my story, not the perfect version, but the real one. And one day, out of nowhere, a small local business messaged me. They needed help rebranding their bakery. It wasn't a big job, just a logo and campaign. But to me, it felt like winning the lottery. I poured my heart into that project. Every color, every word, every detail carried a piece of my story. When we launched their campaign, the bakery's sales tripled in a month. The owner cried. She hugged me and said, "You changed my business." That night, I cried too, not because of the money, but because for the first time in months, I felt seen. From there, things started changing. One client turned into two, two turned into 10, and suddenly, people started calling me. For advice, it was surreal. The same people who once doubted me were now reposting my work, commenting, "So proud of you." But deep down, I knew the real challenge was still ahead. Because behind all the success, I still carried the memory of that office, of Sarah and Rayan, of how they'd made me feel small. I wasn't looking for revenge, but I knew that someday, somehow, life would bring them back into my story. Every win brought me closer to that day. And when it came, they wouldn't be facing the weak Aisha they remembered. They'd be facing the woman they created. It had been almost 2 years since I left that office. 2 years since the world called me weak. Now, people called me the rising star of emotional branding. My small agency had grown into a real company, 5 employees, an office downtown, a waiting list of clients who wanted me, the same girl who once couldn't even defend her own ideas. I should have felt complete, but the truth, success doesn't erase old wounds. It just covers them until something or someone tears them open again. And that someone was Sarah. It happened on a Wednesday afternoon. My assistant walked in and said, "Ma'am, a representative from Rayan & Co. just booked a meeting with you." My heart froze. Rayan & Co. The new firm Sarah and Rayan had started after I left. I told my assistant to confirm the meeting. Not because I needed their business, but because I needed closure. That night, I stood in front of the mirror again, same eyes, same face, but a different woman. This time, there were no tears, only calm confidence. The next day, they arrived at my office. Sarah smiled her fake smile. Rayan looked just as charming as before. They congratulated me, pretending nothing had happened. They explained their proposal. Their firm had taken on a major client, but their creative team had failed to deliver. They wanted me to help fix it. The same people who once stole my work now needed me to save theirs. I listened politely and said, "I'll think about it." When Rayan said, "You've really changed, Aisha," I smiled and answered, "No, Rayan. I just stopped letting people decide who I am." After they left, I stood in silence. The moment I once dreamed of, finally facing them, had come, but it didn't feel like revenge. It felt like peace. Still, I knew this story wasn't over. I wasn't angry anymore. I didn't want to destroy them, I wanted to teach them. So I decided to take the project on my terms. Their campaign was a mess. We started from scratch. I led every creative meeting myself. When we presented the new version, the client was speechless. They signed a massive deal with my agency instead. After the meeting, Sarah said softly, "Aisha, you really turned this around." I smiled. "You already thanked me by showing me what betrayal looks like." Her eyes dropped. Rayan looked defeated. Their silence was my victory. I didn't need revenge, I had results. In the following weeks, my company grew even more. New clients, new investors, and suddenly, my name was everywhere. I wasn't the girl who cried anymore. I was the woman who turned pain into power. The best part, I never raised my voice. I just became everything they said I couldn't be, and that was enough. It started with one article, "The Woman Who Turned Rejection into a Revolution." Within days, messages flooded in. People wrote, "Your story gave me hope. Hope, the very thing I had once lost, now I was giving it to others." Interviews, podcasts, conferences, everyone wanted to hear my story. And every time I spoke, I remembered that office where I was called too emotional. Now, that emotion was my power. During one interview, I saw a familiar face in the crew, an old coworker. They whispered, "Aisha, you made it." I smiled. No, I found myself. The interview went viral. Even Sarah and Rayan couldn't avoid it. Their company started losing clients, not because I wanted revenge, but because truth lasts longer than arrogance. Then one day, Rayan sent an email, "I'm sorry, you deserved better." I smiled and deleted it, because forgiveness isn't about them, it's about me. Now, I stand on stages I once only dreamed of. Not to prove anything, but to remind others that pain can be power. That silence can be strength. That emotion isn't weakness, it's courage. It's strange how quiet victory feels. No noise, no anger, just peace. Without their betrayal, I would have never discovered my strength. Without losing everything, I would have never found myself. Life has a way of breaking us, but sometimes the cracks let the light in. The world called me weak because I felt deeply. But that's exactly what made me strong. If you've ever been betrayed, humiliated, or made to feel small, remember your story isn't over. Sometimes the ending that breaks you is the beginning that builds you. I no longer hate them. In fact, I thank them for teaching me that the best revenge is peace. The best comeback isn't loud. It's silent, calm, and undeniable. When people call you weak for being kind, don't change who you are. Just change where you stand. Now, when I look in the mirror, I see the same face, but different eyes. Not tired, not scared, just alive. They called me weak. But they forgot. The softest hearts often create the strongest stories. Strength isn't loud. It's quiet persistence.